the Rangers Journal now.
Evening everybody and welcome back to the Rangers Journal. This is Tuesday the 2nd of July and I'm delighted to be joined by a couple of new guys tonight that are in to speak about their passion, which is Rangers, and I've got my, well, I suppose it's a good looking one, podcast. Dean, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, thank you, mate. How are you getting on?
Aye, not bad at all. Good. Dylan, welcome to the team, pal. How you doing?
I'm good, mate. Thank you for getting me on board. I appreciate it.
No problem at all. It's good to have you. And last but no means least, Davey, how you doing, mate?
I'm very well, Scott. Thanks for having us. Pleasure to be here.
No problem at all, mate. No problem at all. Right, so we're going to get right in it. We're going to start with Philippe Clement. Dean, I'm going to come to you first. What's your kind of, see now that the season's settled and all the rest of it, what's your feeling around the manager just now? Are you optimistic going into the season? Are you sold on him, basically, is what I'm asking?
I'm sold on the ethos that he has. The recruitment is is really, really encouraging, given we've not seen those types of signings at Ibrox forever, so he's happy enough to get these young players in, and him and Poppin have obviously went to great lengths to get them in and stuff, so encouraged by that. And I'm coming out and saying about needing experience. So I think it was on a podcast that maybe we done, I can't remember, and I'd said, there's got to be 75-80% of the squad's got to be younger, but there does have to be, a good proportion of the squad that's going to be experienced and stuff. So it's good to hear that he is wanting to sign those players in, because I believe that's imperative for us, getting to that next level. So I'm optimistic at that. It's just sad that he's going to then coming into the season with the disastrous going on at Ibrox and stuff. So just makes his job that bit harder. And the fact that he's probably one old firm defeat away from there being serious questions asked about his managerial ability. So that's that's a big test for him. So let's hope that he can overcome that, and those questions don't need to be asked.
Dylan, I'm going to come to you now on Clement. So he came in kind of second year in a row with a new manager around about that time of the season. He gets a good bounce back. He wins the League Cup. Injuries and stuff kind of curtail the title challenge towards the end. How are you feeling in terms of, are you optimistic going into the season? Are you high hopes? But do you think Clement's the man?
I think he is the man, actually. He's got something about him. Like, he just has that aura about him, on the touchline. It's just whether the players are going to listen to it, Like, I think clearing out the leadership group that was there will go a long way for me to securing that. I felt, there was players in there that were playing for Clement, and you could see those players that weren't really playing for him. You know what I mean? Like, there's players like Barisic who, what do you know about him anyway? He was letting us down, constantly. Even in that running, he's letting us down. There's other players in there that are gone, and there's players still here that, have let him down as well. Like, for instance, Connor Goldson, he let us down when it really mattered. When the cookie crumbled, he crumbled. His form fell right off a cliff up at County. That's where, well, it really all happened that Motherwell game, didn't it? That's where it fell off, and that's what it's so important next season, that we get a good start, that we don't, allow a gap to form, because I think when Beale got sacked, it was 7. I'm sure the gap was, so it's important that we don't allow any gaps, and we are the ones that are putting the pressure on, And I also think another quick thing is the mentality. You know, Liam Balogun came out in an interview, and that's the bit that concerned me actually a wee bit, was about how there needs to be work on a mentality, you know, which kind of tells me the current crop, you know, outside of the ones brought in, aren't really got the mentality, or haven't got the mentality to challenge, you know, that lot of the other side, you know, because they're now serial winners, you know, and it's up to us to change that, and it's up to Clement to change that, you know. Like, it's not gonna be by luck, it's gonna be by excellent recruitment and, you know, bringing in players that are gonna do the job, that are gonna, you know, score in the big moments, that aren't gonna miss sitters. You know, when it really matters at your rival's place, it's gonna be a killer. You know, that's what they have, you know, and that's what Clement needs for me, if he's gonna be successful.
Aye, definitely. Davey, I'm going to come to you on Dylan brought up a really good point about mentality. I think we've kind of seen over the past 5-6 years that the mentality of the leadership group hasn't really been up to standard. It's not been up to a Rangers standard, if we need to put it bluntly. One of our other podders in the comments tonight, and he says that big few weeks ahead for Clement and Coppin to get the squad sorted for the league kick-off and the Champions League qualifiers. Do you think that the heat could get turned up on Clement if it doesn't get off to a great start?
Yes. Although he's done well when he came in, let's not make any bones about it. Celtic haven't been that great. Celtic have been, to be honest with you, gash. And but by saying that, you know, the last 6 Rangers should have won the Old Firm games. Last 6 we should have won, and we never. And we had to lie. I mean, there was 2 or 3 offside goals which should have stood. But to be honest with you, the leadership at Rangers right now is absolutely abysmal. Tavernier's not a captain. People might disagree. I don't think he's captain material. Connor Goldson, to be honest with you, I wouldn't let him play in my nephew's football team because I don't rate him. I've never rated him, if I'm honest. Never rated him. The only time I ever seen Connor Goldson play kind of decent was when we went through the COVID. And he rattled in 2 goals at Celtic Park. But again, he had no pressure for the fans. It seems to be, the way I look at it, the way I see it, is Tav and Goldson seem to crumble under the pressure for the fans. Barisic, I like Barisic going forward, but as what Dylan says, he did let us down a lot of times. Lundstrom, I do like Lundstrom, but in the past 2 years, he's just seemed to have fell away, to be honest with you. There doesn't seem to be a heart in that midfield either, to be honest. If that's what if you want me to say, there doesn't seem to be a heart in that midfield. Now, any good, decent football team have always got a really good midfield, strong midfield, but and a good defence. And we've not had both in quite a few years. So I don't know.
I know, definitely, mate, definitely. Do you think that the pressure? I'll stay with you, David. Do you think the pressure is going to come on if it doesn't get a good result in the first Old Firm game at the end of August?
I think if he doesn't get a good start of the season, I think the pressure will be on Clement, to be honest. He needs to get. I mean, he's looking at that young boy, that young striker. Now, I've never heard of him, never seen him play. I don't know what he's like. And he's paying 1.5 million for a striker. A lot of people don't like Dessers. Again, I think for what Dessers has come in and done all the past season, he's held up, plays good. He's got 22 goals, and 7 assists for his first year at Ibrox.
Aye.
And fans don't really rate him, so I think we just need to let him come in with his players and see how they go. But if Clement doesn't get a good start to the season, I think he'll find out very quickly.
Yep, definitely. I think because he's not had that kind of monkey off his back with an Old Firm. I think if he'd won an Old Firm gaming, he had started to see progress and the tide turning a wee bit. That I think we would all be sitting here feeling a lot more optimistic than what we are. Dean, Ian McCutcheon's coming in the comments right away. Pressure's on, basically, is what he's saying. Expectations to win a treble, qualify for Champions League, win all your home games. In the Champions League, at the end of the season, players for an 8-figure amount in millions make a profit. Now, I don't think that's, as Rangers, I don't think that's bad expectations to have. But do you think it's realistic considering where we are just now?
And those expectations you would think should be a bare minimum, but we want success. We want us to win every single competition. But first and foremost, we need to win the league next season. Simple. That's the number one expectation for me. And hopefully we can get a cup along the way. Then get make our appearances in Europe something to be proud of and not an embarrassment, to say the least. And if the players that do that then happen to have sell-on value come next summer that can turn around and give us a profit and get this same player trading model properly up and running and consistent, then that's obviously got to be something that we've got to look at. But the thing is, we're starved of success because we've had so much success. It's not like we're starved of success because it's been 40 years since we've won the league or whatever. Right. It's because we're just so used to winning everything, and when we don't consistently win it for a prolonged period of time, you're just hungrier and hungrier. So I get what you're saying about the treble, but do you know what I mean? I would happily, not win a treble next season, although it would be phenomenal. It's been years since we have won the treble, but I would happily not win the treble next season if it meant just us winning the league. And as I said, those other points. But getting to the Champions League is going to be incredibly difficult. It's going to be a massive task, not just for the manager, but for the whole club. It's getting there and doing well at home. And as I said, if we happen to not get our arses handy, to use a better phrase, then that's a decent season for us. But yeah, winning that league is imperative.
Dean, I'm going to stay with you. See, when Steven Gerrard came in, I think he got beat 1-0 at Parkhead in his first Old Firm game. But you could see a gap was closing. And then took them at Ibrox and beat them 1-0. Ryan Jack scored. Now, do you think that there's been any signs of that under Clermont in the Old Firm games that he's had? Obviously, the Scottish Cup final for me is probably our best performance, but do you think that there's enough there to give us a wee bit of hope going into a new season?
Not in terms of Old Firm games, no. Never laid a glove on them when he's been in charge. So, and the same things just seem to keep happening. So, there's a lot of mitigating factors in there, but I don't think it's solely down to him. I do think it's solely down to certain players that he had available to pick from. So I'm optimistic that given the injury list that we had and to what, hopefully it's not going to be next season, and him having his own players and having his own stamp on things, then we've got to think that the Scottish Cup final should be the foundations to where he wants players, rivals, to be at when they're in Old Firm games. And they left that pitch that day with their heads held high, and we were all proud of them because not one of them left anything on the pitch, and we were, so that's all we ask for in Old Firm games, and that happening then was once in a blue moon for me. So he needs to have that implemented now and going into the first Old Firm game. And given his record, it's a big ask for me to think that he's capable of doing it. And I mean, Rangers managers don't last long if they can't beat Celtic. So that's the nature of the beast. And I noticed Paul earlier on, Paul McCorrell, I forget his surname, was a regular viewer, regular commentator. He said Clement needs time. That's one thing you don't get as Rangers manager is time. If you're unsuccessful domestically and unsuccessful against Celtic, you're not going to get time at Rangers. So he needs to change the outcome of Hotham games now. There's no room for error.
Aye, definitely, mate. Definitely. There's nothing I can really say to come up against you on that point. Just a wee thank you to the Catalyst who's became a YouTube member. Thanks for that, mate. It's appreciated. Dylan, I'm going to come to you on the injury situation now. We're talking about Old Firm matches. Clement's not managing to get a result. Clement was constantly doing a patch-up job. It's as if he was robbing Peter to pay Paul on a regular basis. He was just constantly felt to get Dujon Sterling playing on the wing and things like that. It was far from ideal. Far from ideal. Do you think that we had a good pre-season under the belt that these players are going to be able to produce big moments for us next year?
I think so. I think in some of the Old Firm games there was moments where I think if we had the quality that we would we could have had that edge. Where a lot of the games, all of Clement's games was almost a patch-up job against them. They had pretty much their best team, and they were struggling against. They weren't great against their team. And I'm thinking, what could we do with a good team? A team with players with the right mentality, with the right quality in the right areas. You've touched on it with the midfield. I think it's a bit powder puff. It's not got the right balance state. I felt like I was watching the midfield and Diamande looked like he came for Barcelona. You know what I mean? And the rest of the midfield was playing non-league. You know what I mean? Like it was that bad.
Yeah.
Like there's no link up. They were getting overrun. But that is one player as well. I think that could be big next season. Diamande. I think he could be the one. Like whenever I watch him, the way he takes the ball in the tight areas, the way he spins people, he's something special. But the injury situation is also worrying me. Like you said there, there's been no talk, no official confirmation of changes in that department. Whether they make it public or not, it's up to them really. They don't really need to make this stuff public, I don't think so. But there needs to be changes, and I hope there is, because if there isn't, it'll be the same outcome next season. We'll just be talking about the same stuff back here in a year's time, and that's what they need to do in the summer is make sure that they know and that we're talking about Rangers winning the league and Rangers winning, because for too long we've been the second best in Glasgow. Whether some people like it or no, after 55, we took the eye off the ball. They got a manager in, and he literally flipped it. He flipped it with a flick of a switch. Why? Because we wasted money as well. We had money there, but we wasted it, and we also didn't invest. And failure in the Champions League to qualify, I think, condemned Rangers. Malmo, was huge. Losing to Malmo, I think, was bad. But no, like Rangers, need to pull this out the fire, really.
Aye, definitely. Davey, bringing in Dylan makes a good point about Malmo in the Champions League under Steven Gerrard. So, do you think that if we don't get the Champions League this season, do you think, one, is that going to bring pressure onto the manager? And two, can we sit here and expect Champions League qualification? Have we earned that right to expect that for this team?
I don't see it, no. No in Champions League, no. Maybe Europa. No Champions League. That team's nowhere near Champions League material. We'll be the Witten boys of Champions League if that team. Right now, Clement needs at least another maybe 3 to 4 players, good players, to come in to put a bit of strength and a bit of leadership back into that team. And when I'm talking about that kind of players, I'm going back like Butcher, Goff. I know you'll probably not get the guys again, well, you will, but they'll cost way out of our budget anyway. But I'm just giving you an example, like Goff, Butcher, maybe a Graham Roberts. You're talking midfield, you're talking like Gaza, maybe Blowjob, maybe Gattuso. Somebody who's got a bit of grit, somebody who's got a bit of leadership, somebody who can get the ball, not be scared of it, run with the ball, pass the ball, move. We need these kind of guys back because, to be honest with you, although I like Tav, I don't like him in defence. He scares me. Goldson absolutely scares me. Ben Davis, I do like, but he's got personal problems, obviously, with his wife now. Who else am I missing? We've just not really had a... See, to be honest with you, as I said before, with the past couple of 2-3 seasons, we've never really had players that could come together and play as a unit. They guys, as my dad says, are serial losers, to be honest with you. We won a cup last year. Barely. We just barely won that cup. If it wasn't for Tav at the 83rd minute. Although we won it, but, you know what I mean? Aberdeen pushed Rangers all the way. We should be steamrolling these teams. But, to be honest with you, as Dylan says, where's the money went as well? I mean, where's all the money went? I mean, look, what was it we made at the European run when we got to Seville? Was it Seville? 100 million was it we made? 70 million, something like that? With everything, with taps and tickets and everything else. You know, I would like, I mean, as you put on the injury list, last year was an absolutely comical show with Rangers with injuries. It seemed that if somebody went to the toilet, they'd injured themselves. So we don't know which. We don't know. We obviously don't know what's happening. We're just speculating, but there's far too many injuries as well at Ibrox. But I hope Clermont comes in, gets another 4 good players in, and let's see how he goes. Get a good pre-season under his belt, and then let's see how he goes. But go back to your first point, Scott. I do think if he doesn't do well, maybe in the Champions League, I wouldn't worry about Europa. If he doesn't do well in Europa and do well in the league, I do think you'll see the fans turning and pretty quickly.
Definitely. All valid points, mate. Dean, Davey makes a point about the good old days where you like Butcher, Goff, Gaza, et al. Right, loads of them. Loads of good quality players that we've seen playing for Rangers now. Do you think that the markets that we're shopping in, and I'm trying to think about how to put this, I'm trying to remain positive. See the markets we're shopping in, do you think that that's where we are in terms of trying to get the quality in? Or do you think that guys like Kenny McLean coming in are going to help? Like, what type of quality do you think that we need?
The quality we need is to win the league. And, you know, as a Rangers fan, I'm actually quite tired of Rangers fans saying Celtic aren't that good. And I've got, well, I'd love to not be that good and win silverware. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
That's exactly where I'm at. You know, we've had great runs in Europe, but it won us hee-haw. You know, being good in Europe, they were crap in the league. You know, that's where I'm at. Ken McLean's got the quality to come in and help us win the league, then I'm all for it. If shopping in the Honduran market and signing an unknown young man that's going to come in and be that's something different that we don't have that's going to help us win the league, then I'm all for that. So we've seen it time and time again. Players who you wouldn't even know even existed, and we play against them in Europe, and they're like, you know, who's this? absolutely amazing players and things like that. Do you know? So there's gems everywhere. And with the right recruitment, with the right people behind the recruitment, it's definitely possible. You know, and I know Brighton have got a far bigger budget than us, but look how good Brighton have been in terms of shopping in markets that not other teams would shop in. So it's it's definitely possible to go out there and get the quality in. And so I don't think that the quality that we need right now has to be the creme de la creme of whatever team. Back then, back in those days, when we were signing Chris Wood in goals, Graham Roberts right back, Terry Butcher, they were top players that we were signing, but they were, we were buying in those markets then. Our markets have changed. We're not able to go and get internationals and things like that. So we just have to make do with what we can get. And at the end of the day, as I keep saying, I'd love to be not that good and win league after league and doubles and what have you.
Aye, I know what you mean. I think there is a certain quality that's missing for the squad right now with the likes of Hefty and stuff coming in Ciala. They're all good players for the player to win model, but I do think we need a Kenny McLean to come in and mix it up, raise the bar, set a standard, so to speak.
Yeah,
I do think that's missing. Dylan, I'm going to come to you with a question for one of our members, KW, and he's asked, do we think now, Philippe Clement done a lot of rotation last season. I think there was only Clement only had one opportunity where he had the same fit starting 11 and his whole tenure at Rangers last year. Do you expect to see that rotation again for the manager next year, or do you expect to see a more kind of settled starting 11 since we're not going to be hampered by injuries?
Well, I think we won't see that rotation as much on that scale, but I do think we will see some sort of rotation because I just think with that amount of games, you almost need to, especially with the added, European games, regardless, they're going to be playing group stage football, whether it's Champions League or Europa League, or the new league phase, so it's 2 extra games, no winter break. You're going to have to rotate, or these injuries are just going to happen, These injuries will just continue, It's not the first time, if you think back before last season, the season before we had injuries, not on the scale what we had this season, but we still had quite a lengthy injury list, and that's why we brought back Dr. Mark Waller. But it feels like we brought in Dr. Doolittle. You know what I mean?
Aye.
He's not done much, for all it was cracked up to be. But in terms of the viewer's point, I think we will see rotation, but just not that kind of massive amounts, I'd be very annoyed if, for instance, we went away to a tricky place and he tried to rotate, because I think that's what really hampered him, was that over-rotation of the squad. Motherwell at home, the one we lost 2-1, was a prime example. Was it John Lundstrom was dropped to the bench and Raskin played. Or did Raskin played alongside somebody and had an absolute stinker. He came in after his injury and had an absolute stinker. And that's what we can't afford to have, is, him rotating somebody in and then, they're no to that level, or they're, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, I think there will be rotation, but I'm not too sure if it will be that same type of level of rotation where it's like 4 or 5 players a game. You might see the odd 1 or 2 here or there, or if players have got niggles, you might decide I'll keep him on the bench just to protect him, But most managers do that anyway, so you've just got to trust him, eh?
Aye, mate. I think that's a very good answer you've given us. Curry, one of our moderators, has come in and says, if they can put out a starting 11 that can close out games early, it will give them a chance to rotate and rest main stars. I think that's definitely a valid point to me. I don't think we're going to see as much rotation, especially because it's his team. There was a comment here about pacing the team. Somebody had says it. I think it was Sobo. I don't need to get it up.
It was Buff, Scott.
Yeah, aye, but there was another one, Davey. He says we have zero speed in the team. We are the only team in the world that point blank refuses to counter attack. So what I think that's changing with Elisa Cortez coming in and come on, getting Hefty is very quick as well. That's on our breakdown pod with us. Is Mark Bags, you go and check it out. I think come on, he's trying to put the holes that Michael Beale dug in the squad when he didn't want any wingers last season. He wanted us to play narrow. Davey, what about you? See, in terms of gelling, early doors, do you think that Clement needs to try and find these settled 11 in pre-season and stick with it through? Because obviously we've got a lot of turmoil at the club just now with a stadium situation, and we've got Europe and whatever else. We've got a lot of new players coming in. He really needs to find his starting 11 quickly, doesn't he?
Yeah, 100%. Aye, yeah, 100%. You need to keep your backbone of the team. As I says, you need to have good players make a good team. Obviously, I mean, you can go and buy all these wee cheap players like Buff. That boy said about Buff. Buff was a fantastic player, but you really need to have a strong core of a team to make a team actually work. I do think the team needs to gel kind of quickly, but I'm kind of hoping that he doesn't sell too many players. I hope he keeps like Lammers. I hope he keeps Dessers. I know people don't like to hear that, but they've been at the club for a season, so they probably know what it's about. So all these new boys are coming in. But aye, you need to find a decent team to gel, basically, and a team to hit the ground running. Which some players will find it hard because they're coming from different continents, coming into Scotland, but the league's a lot faster. It's a lot more physical than most of the leagues. I don't know what you guys think.
I don't know in terms of Lammers. I think his Rangers career's done, mate, just for the simple fact that he didn't date in the Rangers jersey last season. I get what you mean. It's good in terms of stability. They keep the likes of Lammers and Dessers, but I think they're probably two assets we'll try and move on first to get money in so that we can go and get players that are going to fit the bill and maybe hit the ground running. But like you say, it is a risk in it.
That's a big risk because if you go and buy another, as I say, I think we need another 45 players anyway. I think we need another couple of defenders. I think we need another couple of midfielders. But I would, if it was my choice, I would keep Lammers and Dessers. But if I was to sell either one, I would sell Lammers. But saying that, it's all opinions.
That's what it's all about, mate. It's all about opinions. Aye, that's exactly what it is. It's all about opinions. Dean, I'll come to you now. In fact, I'll come to you on that very point. Let you kind of reply to Davey a wee bit in terms of Lammers and Dessers. I can see where he's coming from in terms of a wee bit of stability within the squad and whatever else, but what's your take on it?
Well, in terms of stability, I'm all for stability, but not for either of those players. We're in a position where both of them are probably at their peak value in the Rangers' career, and we need to move them on. In my opinion, that there's no Lammers, there's no future for him at Rangers for various reasons. As I say, Dessers holds some value. We want to be getting our number 9 in that's going to be scoring 30 plus goals a season. You know, and maybe got a bit of age, a bit more age in his legs as well, maybe. But in terms of the situation with stability is quite harrowing, because we're obviously having this massive amount of players that are obviously leaving, but the players that are going to be coming in, I think those are the ones that you will end up getting stability from. And when you've got a manager coming in that's got a complete and utter different style of play, that those players were signed for Michael Wheel's style of play. Collett's got a completely different style of play, so he wants to be having his own players. And as I say, those players have value, and we've got to sell players at the right time. Now that there is going to be, there is players like that will come in and they'll play one season and they leave. I'm going to use Carlos Cuellar as a fine example. We signed him, in my opinion, best centre half season I've ever witnessed at Ibrox in my lifetime was Carlos Cuellar. It was phenomenal, and we sold him to Aston Villa because his stock was high. It was peak time to sell him. So I think, irrespective of the longevity of players at our club, we need to be selling players when their stock's at the highest level, which we've not been doing in recent years. And Lammer's stock, you'll never get any higher. And with Dessers at the age he's at, his stock's not going to be any higher as this season. And if we keep him and he plays next season and whatever, his value is going to somewhat diminish, and I don't think that's going to be a good return on investment where we could invest that money into a striker that's going to come in and give us 2-3 years of scoring at least the same amount of goals, but hopefully a lot more.
See, Lammers not played out of position when he was at Rangers? That Lammers is a striker, as you know, and he was played out of position. That's why I'm saying I think the boy needs another chance. That's with Lammers, but with Dessers scored 22 goals with 7 assists. His hold-up play is pretty good as well. But again, we need to give these boys a chance because they've just came here. Dessers has only been here a year. What's Lammers the same, Scott?
Aye.
He's only been here a year. So we need to give these guys a chance. They've only been here a year. All right, Dessers has done a lot better than what Lammers has, but Lammers was played out of position and he never used his full potential. Now look at a goal he scored against. Who was it? That one he cracked for 20 odd yards outside the box and went into the top bag. But then he get punted, then he get loaned out. But I do think we should have given Lammers a good chance anyway. If we want to sell Dessers, sell him, but I think we should keep him. My honest opinion. But as I say, Scott, everybody's got their own opinion and things, it's...
Aye, that's it, mate. That's it. Dylan, is there anybody for the current crop that you would like to see stay?
Stay? Like, from the ones that are kind of linked to
anybody for the current... Aye, like Tom Lawrence, Todd Cantwell, Lammers, Dessers, Ajay, Ben Davies.
This one might be controversial in a wee way, but I want Cantwell to stay. There's a lot of folk that are almost trying to push the boy out the door a wee bit, and I think it's almost a media agenda against Cantwell. I'm quite sick of it, to be honest with you, because I like him. I think he offers quite a lot, but he can't do much when he's got nobody that wants to link up with him. When Cantwell's at his best, it's when he's doing his 1 and 2 touches in and about the box. He's unbelievable at it. Finding the little passes. Like, see some of these, look back at some of these assists and passes and chances. He just puts balls on plates. It's unbelievable. He just finds the little half spaces between the lines and behind the midfield line. He's a good ball carrier. Listen, there's been games where he has ghosted. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that he's, absolutely ripped it up in Old Firms. He's ghosted. And some of his attitude off the pitch, in terms of his posts, isn't great, is it? But you can't, help it with that. Well, you can, but it's Cantwell at the end of the day. He's got a big ego, But no, I really like him. You know what I mean? I really do, mate. I think he's got something there, and I think if you get players in and about him, I think Cantwell will become a better player. He wasn't touted for 25, 30 million in the Premier League for no reason. You know what I mean? There was a reason behind it, and there's a player in there. And I really do think with a good pre-season under his belt, Campbell will go far, because when you look at it, when Campbell came onto a game, he's been held back by injury. You know what I mean? There was that moment round about the February, March time where he was scoring important goals. You look at that second goal for against Aberdeen at Ibrox. If we drew that game, that was it. It would have been a really tough ask. But he scored it when it mattered. You know what I mean? So yeah, the player I'd want to stay would be Cantwell, 100%.
Dean, I'm going to let you come in and have your say on Todd Cantwell. Dylan's come in with a very good point, and the comments are going tonto about it. There's a lot of people saying that Cantwell needs better players around him. Maybe if he had to be so rigid in his position, we would see how good he was. For me, it's a no. I want him to get sold just for all part or half the pitch. See, like his Insta posts and all this. No, I can't be bothered with anyone. It just causes controversy that doesn't need to be at the club. What's your thoughts?
Aye, no, couldn't agree with you more, Scotty. I don't think in the year and a half that he's been here, he's shown enough for me to give him more of an opportunity to play for our club. Fair enough, he was valued at a large amount of money and stuff when he was at Norwich. That's all fair and well, but Rangers is a big club, and the shirt has quite often been too big for a lot to wear. So, and he definitely falls into that category for me. Fair enough, people are saying he's not in the right position and so on and so forth. I've got to understand that, I've got to respect that. But when he has been in the right position, he's just not shown enough for me. And then to get himself into a position to then be arguing with fans and things. And I mean, at the end of the day, we're the ones that pay his wages, and he's the one that's putting post up and things like that. So, like, you've got to have some sort of self-awareness about yourself, not just on the park, but clearly off the park as well. And he just doesn't have any. I don't know if it's an ego thing or if it's an intelligence thing, but he just doesn't have the, he just doesn't have the common sense to understand that there's ramifications to things that he does. So for that, no, and on the park, he's just not really purple patches here and there. But what makes it most frustrating is because we know that he is actually good, but he just doesn't seem to consistently play to the levels that's required at Ibrox, and we can't continue to have these players in our club. Oh well, if we do this, we do that, and do this, do that. He's been here a year and a half now. That's enough opportunity for me to see that he's not of the required level that we need to be successful.
Davey, you've heard
Yes.
Dylan's pitch. You've heard Dylan's pitch for Cantwell staying, and you've heard Dean's pitch for Cantwell potentially leaving. Where do you sit on it?
I think all his media stuff, like, outside of it, though, I think he needs to stop it. Because he's a role model. Professional football players are role models. They see boys that want to grow up and be like them, and they see them on TikTok dancing and doing stupid wee stuff like that. I don't like it. I'm 46, maybe I'm just too old-fashioned, but I don't like it. As a player, I like him as a player, but he needs to do it more consistently. And I think he needs to stop getting involved in stupid squabbles with, like Callum McGregor, as you saw at the last All Forum game, when Clement came on and grabbed him and shoved him.
That's right.
To be honest with you, I think he needs to grow up a bit. To be honest with you, I think he's still on TikTok brain, as they say. But I do like him as a player, but he needs to do it more consistently, and he needs to do it more better. But I did see a post that one of the boys said he needs better players around him. I do agree with that, because the players that have been around him, to be honest with you, haven't been that great. But if he wants to be a big time player, you know, like a Gaza or a Loudrop or anything like that, you've got to take it on yourself. You've got to take it, take it on yourself and go and do it. I do think he does try and do too much. I think if he just leaves half of it and let take on a player and then pass the ball and then run. But I don't know. I'd like Cantwell to stay if Clement wants him to stay. But again, we can only sit here and just talk about it. At the end of the day, it's up to Clement. He's the man. He's the manager at the end of the day. But I would like Tavernier to stay. But in one condition, you push him forward into the midfield and brings a right back in. Because I just don't like him as a right back. I just think he's a liability.
Funny you say that, Davey. I've been saying that for years about Tav. It reminds me of Fernando Rickson. Moved him for, it was Big Ek. It moved him for right back into centre mid, and it made Rickson's
What a difference.
Made Rickson's. I know.
Going
forward,
Scott. Yeah. Going forward, Scott. I think he's brilliant going forward. I really do. But in defence, and then you've got this Goldson sitting beside him. That's calamity right there. I just don't like the two of them in defence. I would sell Goldson in a heartbeat. I would keep Tav, push Tav forward into midfield. But as I say, it's all about opinions, isn't it?
That's it. Doug's already in backing you up, saying Tav the defender with most clean sheets in the league. We had a pod for Tav last week, and I think the comments were saying one thing and the podders were saying another. It was quite interesting, so it was. Right, well, we're going to kind of wrap up there. We'll come with one last question for three. Dane, what's your expectations for this season? You're on mute.
So I am. Happy days. Bare minimum win the league. Simple. That's, and and win a cup along the way. Europe, I'm not particularly fussed about going far in Europe, as long as we, as I said the other on, we don't get embarrassed and we do ourselves proud, then that's fine. I know what you're saying, Curry. Treble, totally not really get that. The treble would be magnificent, but given the circumstances that's leading into this season, given where we've been and where we're going and where we want to aspire to be, I've alluded to the fact that winning the league is good enough for me next season. I don't know that's the blah blah blah, but nah, we'd win the league and win a cup if we can.
Yep, total agreement for me. And if Clement doesn't get off to the best start, I think the pressure's going to be on. It's just my opinion. Don't shoot me. Dylan, same question to you, mate. Where are you? What's your bare minimum for next season for us Rangers team?
My standards are high, so I'm going to have to say the treble. They've got to be winning trebles year in, year out. Success is what this club was built on. When you read through the history books, success is ingrained in the DNA of the club. There's too many people out here who are just happy for European ones, are happy to clap, have European nights. That's a lot of people's memories, kind of the newer generation of fans, their memories are just Europe. They're not got memories, winning leagues, at Rugby Park. or at Tannadice, or Helicopter Sunday. People don't have, the newer generation don't have these memories. Just memories, winning leagues and winning European ties. You know what I mean? And that's your big hurrah. It just doesn't sit right with me. And listen, I wasn't brought up on that either. I wasn't brought up on the past glories. I was brought up on the dark days, the gloom. You know what I mean?
Aye.
The really really poor moments. But yeah, my expectations are the treble, and one quick point is Europe. Is to reach the Champions League. That's my expectation. I know they're high, but you can't if you set the standards low, then you're going to get low standards. So yeah, that's my high standards, really high.
Fair enough, mate. I came across a bit of a war cry. Good on you. Good on you. Davey, what about you? Same question, mate. What's your bare minimum expectation for this season?
The league, a cup, and do well. Kind of get so far in Europe, and the only reason why I say get so far in Europe is for the money situation. That's possibly what I'd like to see. But the majority, the main focus here is getting the league. That's the league. Is my main point. Just getting the league. But I'd like to see us getting a cup and doing well, either in the Champions League or in Europa. If I'm honest. And as I say, the only way I see Europa is for the money situation. So we can bring in some more dollar.
Fair enough. Aye. We're used to playing Thursday, Sunday, so it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
No,
Right, well,
no,
we'll
but
wrap up there. Dean, I'm going to come to you first. Just want to say your goodbyes, mate.
Hi, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Pleasure having you all comment and watch my push regularly. So it's good to see that you're all here. Been a pleasure having Dave and Dylan on, but yeah, keep hitting the like button, subscribe and share to everybody that lads and lassies that's watching. Thanks very much.
Right, cheers, Dean. Hey, Dylan, I'm going to come to you. Made some brilliant points tonight, mate. Came across very well. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you very much for getting me on. I appreciate all the comments and everybody jumping in. I was a wee bit nervous, but I actually quite enjoyed it, just getting my points out. I like getting my views across on Rangers, and just, I hope, not all my views are everybody's cup of tea like the Cantwell one, but I just hope I've made some good points, and, I hope I've added something to the pod and you've enjoyed it. So thank you, Scotty, Dean and Davey as well.
And Davey, same to you, mate. Brilliant debut. I hope you enjoyed talking about your team.
it's one thing I love. I love talking about my team. It's the only team I love. But as I say, guys, thanks very much for having us on. I appreciate it. Thanks very much. Brilliant. I was a bit nervous at the start, obviously, but I enjoyed it. So, Dino, Scott, thanks very much. Dylan, take care, buddy.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Right, guys, so as us, we will be back tomorrow night at 7:30 with the subject of social media and Rangers players. Cammy and Doug are going to be with you on that one, and I think Aldo, one of our moderators, is making his pod debut tomorrow night as well. So tune in, like, subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow night at 7:30. Remember, every night is Rangers Jungle Night.